You survived the mirror. You took the gift that once protected you and questioned it. You dismantled the seer identity. You turned your sword inward, and when the blade touched bone, you didn't run. You stayed. But now comes the part that burns. This is not interrogation. This is not theory. This is fire. Because once you realize that your insight was never enough to save you, you will be forced into a second becoming. Not as someone who sees, but as someone who integrates. Not as someone who explains truth, but someone who holds it without apology. And that becoming is not poetic. It is brutal. You will pass through the 10 trials that every true seer must endure. If they ever hope to stop performing awakening and start living it. This isn't elevation, it's excavation. You called yourself a quiet seer. Now we find out if that title still fits, once everything false is stripped away. In part 1, the 10 Commandment of the Quiet Seer, we gave you law. In part 2, the 10 Questions of the Quiet Seer, we gave you rupture. You were named, then you were broken. But structure without death is dogma, and questions without direction are paralysis. So now, we enter the crucible. These are the 10 trials you cannot skip. The internal initiations that don't ask for your consent. You will not complete them. They will complete you by removing what was never truly yours. This is where the mirror becomes the flame. This is where projection turns to discipline. This is where your silence either becomes sovereign or burns to ash. And if you survive all 10, then maybe, just maybe, what comes next won't be performance. It will be revolt. Trial 1, the trial of reflection. This is not the mirror you stare into. This is the one that stares back, not the one that shows your performance, the one that reveals your architecture, the lines in your face that were shaped by adaptation, the traits you celebrated that were actually protections, the intuition that was just well-polished fear. This trial is not about insight. It's about honesty, brutal, quiet honesty. You will see your contradictions. You will see the times you used depth to dominate. The way you stayed quiet not out of strength, but strategy. You will see how much of your identity is just a beautifully coded trauma response. And if you flinch, you fail. This trial is not passed through analysis. It's passed through stillness. Can you look at the whole of you, ugly, manipulative, gifted, frightened, and stay seated in your own presence? As Carl Jung wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This trial is about ending that fate. Until you do, your clarity is just another illusion. Trial 2, the trial of silence. You thought you were alone because you were too deep, too rare, too awake. But this trial confronts the deeper truth. What if your silence wasn't sacred, but strategic? What if the reason no one could meet you is because you never truly showed up? You spoke in code, you withheld, you floated above, you waited for someone to pass your unspoken test of depth and resented them when they failed. Now you're alone, not as a spiritual badge, but as the consequence of always standing outside. This trial asks one question. Can you be present without needing to be understood? Can you remain whole when no one mirrors you back? Until then, your silence isn't sovereignty. It's exile dressed as elegance. Trial 3, the trial of the mask. The persona you built was efficient, articulate, respected, but it wasn't real. You survived through it. You were admired through it. But now it's suffocating you. And the longer you wear it, the more yourself starts leaking out in fatigue, misalignment, self-betrayal. The trial of the mask demands a quiet betrayal, not of the world, of your own image. You must let go of who you've been praised for being, the reliable one, the wise one, the mysterious one. You must be willing to become inconsistent in their eyes, to become aligned in your own. If you still need to be perceived a certain way, you're still in a performance. Trial 4. The trial of the mirror. Every person you've blamed, every person you've idealized, every loop you've repeated, they were never random. They were carrying pieces of your unconscious. This trial destroys the illusion of victimhood. It also destroys the illusion of romantic projection. The one who rejected you carried your exiled shame. The one who ignited you held your potential. The one who confused you was your inner chaos personified. Until you can see your patterns as messages, not failures, you will keep choosing mirrors over maturity. This trial is passed the moment you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What part of me wrote this script?" Trial 5, the trial of the flame. Your fire is no longer hidden. It's visible now, in your tone, your presence, your refusal to shrink. And people start to pull away, not because you've changed, but because you've stopped dimming. This trial is about what happens next. Do you make yourself smaller again to keep them close? Or do you let your fire speak even if it scorches old intimacy? You weren't made to be tolerated. You weren't built for palatability. And every time you reduce yourself for comfort, you betray the fire that was meant to restructure the room. This trial is passed when your clarity no longer requires permission to be seen. Trial 6, the trial of the double. There is a figure who will arrive. They will feel too familiar, too fast, too magnetic, or too infuriating. This is not chemistry. This is the unconscious pulling a curtain. The double holds what you've disowned. They reflect your unintegrated animus or anima. They mirror your inner rebel, your unclaimed power, or your feared potential. And you will either try to possess them or destroy them. Jung taught that the unintegrated animus or anima governs not only how we love, but what we project onto others. Until reclaimed, these inner figures turn people into symbols, and symbols into traps. This trial is about neither possession nor destruction. It's about reclamation. You stop chasing their signal. You stop killing the reflection. You sit, and you say, "What part of me did they wake up?" You take it back. You integrate it, and you walk, clean, no projection, no fantasy, just the self, returned. Trial 7, the trial of the soul contract. You didn't choose the pain that formed you, but the pain still shaped you into something real. This trial is not about blame. It's about becoming. You start to see that the betrayals, the abandonments, the early traumas were not just wounds. They were assignments. They cracked your surface early so your insight could take root. You don't need to romanticize the pain, but you do need to own what it made you become. When you stop bargaining with the past and start building from it without resentment, that's when this trial ends. Not with healing, but with construction. Trial 8, the trial of becoming. Growth is not always addition. Sometimes it's subtraction. You will wake up one day and no longer recognize your own rhythm. The words you say feel false. The roles you've played feel borrowed. You've outgrown the scaffolding, and now the self demands form. This trial is not passed through intention. It's passed through surrender. You must let go of your expired self-image, your expired relationships, your expired stories. You grieve, not because something died, but because what no longer fits must now be burned. You don't become through effort. You become through collapse. Let it. Trial 9, the trial of return. You re-enter the world, not as who you were, but as who you've become. And no one recognizes you. They still speak to your old mask. They still expect your old patterns. They try to trigger the version of you that used to shrink. This is the hardest test, because part of you still wants to be understood. This trial is passed when you stop explaining your becoming, when you stop needing confirmation, when your integrity remains intact, even when no one mirrors it. You don't owe the world a breakdown of your rebirth. You owe the self your loyalty. Trial 10, the trial of integration. This is the quietest and the most sacred. No applause, no revelation, just the weight of coherence. You no longer speak about the fire. You carry it. You no longer need the identity of seer. You've become the structure. You no longer chase awakening. You walk as one who has digested it. Individuation, Jung said, is not perfection. It is wholeness. It is the willingness to carry your light and your darkness without splitting. That is what coherence means. That is what you now hold. You are not perfect. You are whole. And from this place, everything changes. Integration is not peace. It is discipline. This is not the end of your evolution. This is the beginning of your form. You've passed the mirror. You've survived the blade. You've walked through fire with no promise of applause. So if something in you has shifted, not just in thought but in spine, then write it, not to be noticed, to leave signal for the others who will come after. Subscribe if this structure matches the one you're now becoming, not for content, for coherence, and hold your center. Because this was not the final phase, it was just the end of silence. You no longer need to call yourself a quiet seer. That name was given to bring you home. Now that you're home, let it go. Because what comes next will not whisper. It will not beg to be seen. It will not negotiate with illusion. There is one final right, not reflection, not rupture, not trial, but fire. And when that day comes, you will not walk in with insight. You will walk in with command. The revolts are coming. You already carry the voltage. Now, will you use it?